the topic of today's Shabbat is called Parashat Shlach. What is the meaning of Parashat Shlach? What is the meaning of the word Shlach? Lehab, which means to send forth. That Moses sent the spies. Moses sent them forth to go and spy or to scout the land to see how beautiful, how great, how fortified, all things, to recognize the entire land and to bring back word to the people, so that the leadership of the people of Israel can make a decision on how to attack and how to conquer the entire land. And this morning also I subtitle the parasha of this morning. The subtitle is The True Ambassador. The Truth Ambassador. Parashat Shlach contains one of the most devastating trouble that occurred to the children of Israel in the wilderness of Sinai. And to this day, the Hebrew people are still suffering from its ramification and have yet to learn its harsh lessons. The trouble is known as the sin of the spies. I said that this morning parasha contains one of the devastating trouble that started. You remember that last week we saw the beginning of the trouble. When Miriam and Aaron begin to bite their brothers and so on and so forth, and we saw the consequence of that lashon hara. And now this week is even worse. They are even degrading more. And later on in the parasha, I would like to correlate the hard lesson that the people never learned from the sin of lashon hara of Miriam and Aaron. Because it's still the same thing. Because the spies did lashon hara against the land. This is lashon hara against the land. You might say, oh, land is not a living thing. Land is not human being. So therefore, there is no lashon hara. No, absolutely, it's not like that. Because we need to understand that everything that we have on the planet starts from the land. The land is living. The land is living. We ourselves came out from the land according to the Torah. The trees, all things that we find came out of the land. So therefore the land is a living thing. So we cannot make lashon hara against the land. These men are men of integrity. These men are advanced men of understanding. These men they are warriors. They are not just ordinary men. They are not just mere men or common men. These are advanced, intelligent warriors. These are generals, captains. These are princes. That's what the Torah calls them. Nasim. These are princes. But still yet, they make lashon hara against the land. They never learn their lesson from the Kohen Gadol and also from their sister, from each sister, Miriam, which the Holy One punished with Sarat. So this trouble begins, and it's like a roller coaster. They begin to go down and go down and go down in sin. The spies that were sent by Moses with Adonai's approval to scout out the land of Israel came back with an evil report, a slander of the good land, the land of Israel. This evil report was not only the direct cause of the delay of the children of Israel entering the land for another 39 years, but it is the root cause of the diaspora mentality of many Israelis living both in or outside the state of Israel today. It is easy to take Israel out of exile than to take exile mentality out of Israel. Remember what our sages always said, that it is easy for God to take Israel out of Israel. It is easy for God to take Israel out of the land of Egypt, but it is hard for God to take Egypt out of the land or out of the heart of Israel. It is easy to take Israel out of the exile than to take exile mentality out of Israel. This mentality of exile, this mentality of slavery is still in us. We still carry it like a baggage all the rest of our life, because we refuse to understand, to realize that the blessing is in the land. That the Lord God has called the land that floweth with milk and honey. If we only will be able to listen and obey His commandments. If we stop, to argue, to complain, and don't forget, we still complain until today, and complain, it never ends. Well, if we can be able to see from this perspective of the Holy One, blessed be He, if we can be able to realize and see that what God had in stock for us, we will be shouting and jumping hallelujah all the days of our lives. Adonai said to Moshe, saying, send Shlach for yourself men who will scour the land of Canaan, which I am giving to the children of Israel. You shall send one man each for his father's tribe. Each one shall be a chieftain in their midst. As I said, these are not ordinary men. These are men of accomplishment. These are not faint-hearted men. These are not men without strength. These are not men without liver. No. These are not common men. These are warriors. These are ambassadors, each and every one of them representing their tribes and representing the Most High, because they call them Nassim, the prince. And who is the king? The Holy One, blessed be He. They are the prince of God. These are mighty men of valor that they were sent to scout the land. These are men with liver. These are strong men. But still yet, they saw themselves little before the giant. How many of us have the same mentality? We said, oh, this temptation is so high. This trial is too much. But remember, the Holy One, blessed be He, said, I will never give you a trial that is above your strength. Whatsoever we are facing at the present time, believe you me, trust the Holy One, that you are able to conquer it. I just want to give you that assurance. I just want you to understand the fact that whatsoever situation you might find yourself at this moment, at this time, no matter how hard it is, you are able to conquer it. And you just have to resolve in your heart, in your soul, that I am able to conquer. And the Holy One who has chosen you will lift you up above any problem. Any trials that comes your way, you are able to conquer it. In other words, according to this, one could say that the failure of the spies was the result of not taking to heart the lesson of Miriam. Oh, sorry, before that, let me go back quickly. We don't always point out why one section of the Torah follow another, but Rashi does this week. Rashi helped us to correlate last week Parasha Nasa, and this week Shlach. So he put them together for us to understand what actually is going on. Send forth for yourself men. What is the section dealing with the spy just supposed with the section dealing with Miriam? Because she was punished over matters of slander for speaking against her brother, and these wicked people witnessed it, but they did not learn their lesson. Why did I call them wicked people? Because they came out, or they returned with a bad report. In other words, according to this, one could say that the failure of the spies was the result of not taking to heart the lesson of Miriam and Aaron. They had spoken slander about Moshe Rabbeinu, and that had angered God. Wouldn't it have made sense to therefore not speak slander about the land of Israel? When you make slander against your brother and you receive the punishment, and the Holy One punished them for their words, for their slander, for their lashara, wouldn't that make sense for them to learn that, God is serious about this. God is very serious about Lashon Hara, that He will not condone Lashon Hara. He will not accept anything negative about the land. For He said, I am sending you to the land that flows with milk and honey. He said, I have given you the land. Ahead of time, He has given us the land. Our job is just to go and conquer it by His strength and by His power. Not by our own strength, not by our own power, because we might come to come and say that, it's because of my might that I conquer. No, but because of Him who has delivered them into your hand. Because they continue to do what is evil in the sight of God. That is what the Torah said in the first place, while we are giving the land. The land is called the land of Canaan, right? Then later on the land of Israel, because the Canaanites that were living there begin to do evil. They never stopped doing what is evil in the sight of God, and that was why God sent them out of the land in the first place. That we should come in and take possession of the land and make the land good. Well, yes and no. Certainly, we learn the importance of not slandering someone in last week parasha, though we were already taught that back in parasha Tazria, but one could easily think that it is one thing to speak badly about the Torah leader of the generation, even for a good reason, and another thing to do is about a piece of land and a frightening mission to take it. The Torah is telling us otherwise. What started out looking like a noble venture led men of honor quickly became a national tragedy. What in the world went wrong? Now we are like forensic scientists approaching this entire episode as a crime scene with orange tape and police lights flashing. What went down here? We began with 12 great men, and in the end, there are only 2 that walk away unscathed and not corrupted. What was the major fault? What was their crime? It is a question that we begin to learn or begin to ask ourselves, because the mistake of this man is for us to learn. It's for us to understand that God will, as I said, that God will not condone Lashon Hara, that God will not accept any evil report about His messenger, about His anointed, or about His land. Remember that the Torah said that the land is mine. The land is not our land. The land belongs to God Himself, the Holy One, blessed be He. Right? So we are just a caretaker of the land. Our job is just to take care of the land, because the land does not belong to us, the land belongs to Him. So therefore, what went wrong here? What is their fault and what was their crime? These are great men of honor, as I repeat, and I will continue to repeat throughout this parasha. These are men of honor. These are princes, the princes of God. These are ambassadors sent to represent their own people. If you as an ambassador does not feel the weight of your calling, if you do not feel the weight of your responsibility, then you are not a good ambassador. Because the way you represent yourself before a foreign land, the way those foreign people will take your own people. As an ambassador, you have to raise your head high. That's what we learned from previous parasha 2. That as a calling, Moshe raised his head high. God has called him as a leader to lead the people to the promised land, to take them out of Israel and take them to the land that He had promised to their forefathers. Remember, as I always say, it is not Moshe that took us out of the land. Because everybody always say, Moshe took us out of the land. Moshe took us out of the land. No. It is not Moshe that brought us out of the land. It was God Himself. Moshe was just an instrument of God that God used to take us out. But don't let us make that mistake that it was a man that took us out of the land of Israel. No. power of any man that will have taken us, or will have been able to have the strength and the power to take Israel out of the land of Israel. But it was God, the power of the Almighty, that took us out of the land of Israel. And Moshe was just an instrument of God that the Holy One, blessed be He, used to take us out. And this is what is happening again in this parasha, that the land belongs to God Himself, and we are just a caretaker of the land. And so therefore you cannot speak evil of the land. But when you speak evil of the land, that means you are speaking evil of God Himself. I want us to understand that. When you speak evil against the man of God, just like what Miriam and her brother Aaron did, they were not speaking against Moshe, but technically they are speaking against God Himself, who has chosen Moshe to lead, or who has chosen Moshe as the head of the entire people of Israel. So when we communicate, when you talk, be careful of what you talk concerning your rabbi, the rabbi said, or any other leader within you, even though in the country, even though with a premier or with a prime minister, because it is God that put them there. The amazing thing is how 10 out of the 12 spices bought into the storyline. How could so many important people be so wrong and cause so much damage for so many generations? The answer is Kesera 1:1. No one learned any lesson that fly in the face of their greatest desire for dependency. It doesn't matter how obvious the lesson may be or may be to others. To the bias, the truth is never accurate and can always be ignored. Even though after it catches up with people, they may still have difficult time admitting their mistake. That is what I'm trying to say here, that to the one who is biased, to the one who has an hidden agenda in their mind, no matter what you tell them, they will never listen. To the one who thinks that red is black, or to the one who thinks that white is green, no matter how you tell him, you try to show him that this is green, he's going to tell you, no, this is white. And when you try to tell him, see, this is black, he's going to tell you, no, this is red, because that is what he wants to see. He doesn't want to see the black, what he wants to see is red. And to him, the black is red. So, to the bias in mind, no matter what explanation you tell them, they are not ready to heed the voice of truth. They are not ready to heed the voice of intelligence. They are not ready to heed what the Holy One is telling them. Because the men have seen themselves be little before the giant. But they forgot that God Himself has delivered them, and God Himself has brought them out of the land of Egypt. But I want to put myself in their shoe. If we are in that particular generation, we will also do likewise. I won't lie to you, because we have to remember that these are people with slave mentality. They have everything done for them like babies, like the mama, breastfeed her baby. God was breastfeeding them by Himself every time, whatever they want, the Holy One, blessed be He, gives to them. But when it comes for God to wean them out of breast milk, and for God to give them what? Meat to eat, they find it very hard. They say, no, I don't want to eat any solid food. I want you to continue to breastfeed me. And the Holy One, blessed be He, is saying, you have to grow up. We have to grow up in our intelligence, in our relationship with the Holy One. We will not be a baby forever. That's what the Holy One is saying. But the people, they don't understand. The people, they refuse. And we have to know that this generation that lived in Egypt for hundreds of years. And so they came out of Egypt with a lot of garbage, a lot of things in their head, in their mind, a lot of idol worshipping, a lot of strange understanding. And the Holy One, blessed be He, has to clean it, has to remove it gradually out of their mind, so so that he can make them the kingdom of priests. The Midrash tells us that each one of us is sent into this world to perform a mission, to do a unique, customized job that no one else can do. It's not always easy to remember that fact. We live in a large and distracting universe. Sometimes we lose track of why we are here and who is it that sent us. How do we remain loyal and connected to the mission? In the Midrash says that each and every one of you, my brother and my sister that are looking at me or watching online, you are sent here for a unique mission. Your mission is not my mission. My mission is not your mission. Each and every one of us are sent for a unique mission in this world. So each and every one of us are unique. There is a mission that the Holy One, blessed be He, had sent you for you to perform and to do and to bring back a good report, not a bad report. But if you as a person, if me as a person refuse to now do our mission and to bring back a good report, then the consequence will be ours. I know that the world is filled with a lot of things that distract us, that we can no longer remember the purpose or the reason why we are sent here in the first place. With all these flashy things that is going on, with all the big buildings and big houses, with all the scenes that we see every day, we can be distracted in the mission. But as a man of God, as a child of God, as an Israelite, we have to be connected with the Holy One. Blessed be He. Our relationship with Him must be very, very close and tight. I won't deny that there is a lot of distraction in the world. Yes, a lot of things can distract you. Your children can distract you. Your husband can distract you. Your wife can distract you. A lot of things, your work, your business, your daily living, your bread that you are seeking for can distract you. It is true. But you have to have at the back of your mind, at the core of your heart, of your soul, that I am sent to this place for a unique mission. Because you are unique. I am unique. Each and every one of us are unique. Because the Holy One, blessed be He, told us that we are kingdom of priests. We have to understand that every one of us has a unique mission here on this planet to perform. And I will want you and each and every one of us to always remember that your job is to bring glory to the name of the Holy One, blessed be He. Be connected with Him. Stand still, and you will see the salvation of the Lord. There is a Talmudic concept in the Talmud. The messenger is like the one who sent him. An ambassador is like the president who sent him. A prince is like the king who sent him. A person is an extension of the one who sent him. Understand that? We assume the power of the Antony granted by whomever it is that we represent. We take on the power and proportion of the one who sent us. Even a simple task like lighting a Shabbat candle is enhanced not so much by the originality or genius of the performer, but by the connection to the one who commands her to do so. That's what a mitzvah is all about. Remember, I said, the messenger is like the one who sent him. The true ambassador. A true ambassador is the one that is an extension of him that sent him. Remember, the purpose of an ambassador to go and represent is a representative of one country in another country. So when an ambassador stands to speak, it's like if the president of that country is speaking, because he has been delegated with the authority and with the power of the president of that country to speak on behalf of the people and of the president in the name of the president of that country. These men, these 12 spies, who have been delegated with the power and with the with the strength of God that they are representing and with the people that they are representing. But what did they bring back? They brought back a bad report. So each and every one of us are the extension of the Holy One. Remember, I said, a man is created in the image of the Almighty. You have the Spirit of God in you. The power of the Holy One is in you. So therefore, you are an extension of the Holy One himself. Blessed be He. So therefore, my people, don't take yourself like a common man or like a common woman. You are not common. You are special. You are prince of God. You are princesses of God. And so therefore, you have a unique mission. And your mission is to stand up high and make yourself, and raise up your head. And do that which the Holy One has sent you. Don't be ashamed. Don't be shy. Stand firm and see the salvation of God. So therefore, we are this is what a mitzvah is all about. Because when you are commanded, you are being delegated with the power of the Antony. In this case, you'll be delegated with the power of God to perform that mitzvah. It is not just a good deed. It means connections. It means relationship. And to be in the company of the person that sent you. Understand? When a woman is delegated to light the Shabbat candle on Erev Shabbat, remember, it is not because she has this ingenuity or this ingenuity or this originality on how to light it. No, but it's because she can feel the connection between her and that mitzvah. And who gave that mitzvah? It is God Himself. So therefore, she can feel the direct connection between her and God. That I am doing this mitzvah because it is commanded by the Holy One. Blessed be He. So, as an ambassador, you have been set by Him to perform that unique work, to do that job that you have agreed to from the beginning of creation to do. So therefore, don't let us be distracted. As it is written in the Messianic writing, many people fell in the wilderness. They couldn't enter into the promised land because the Lord Himself was disgusted with them, because these are men these are hard men, these are hardened people. They don't want to grow spiritually. They want to remain a baby all the days of their life, being breastfed by God Himself. And when a baby, if a woman have a child and the child doesn't want to grow up, the child wants to begin to suck only breast all the days of his or her life, the woman herself will be upset, because as a child you have to grow up. Thinking about it from the natural sense of view, that a child has to grow. If a child is not growing, then there is a problem somewhere. The mama will run everywhere, to the doctors, to the healers, say, what is going on? What is the problem? Why is my child not growing? This is what the same thing it applies here. These people, they want to remain babies, not growing up. And God said that cannot be. You have to grow up. You have to stand firm. You have to grow from strength to strength, from one level of relationship to the higher level of intimate relationship with the Holy One. There's another factor at play as well. Let's say I was to approach the governor's mansion at 3 a.m. in the morning and begin to knock on the door and demand a meeting with the governor. What do you think they're going to tell me? They're going to say, look at this crazy man. Hey, get out from this place. We don't know you. You can't just come to the house of the governor or to the house of the prime minister at 3 a.m. in the morning, start knocking. You'll be lucky that they're not going to shoot you, because there's a lot of security. Or they might even take you and say, this guy has a mental problem, and go and lock you in a mental home for the rest of your life. But let us look at it from another point of view. If I come to the governor's mansion and I begin to knock, and I said, I have it, and they ask me, what do you want? And I said, I have a letter from the president. It's an urgent letter. What do you think that they're going to do? That the gate will be open wide instantly, because I have a letter from the president. The same thing is here. We might try to look for all kinds of excuses not to be able to perform that the mitzvah that God has given us. We might try to look for all kinds of excuses not to stand firm in our faith. Oh, it's because of my husband, it's because of my husband, it's because of my wife, it's because of my children, they give me a lot of problems, it's because of my work, it's because of my colleague, it's because of the pastor, or it's because of the rabbi, or it's because of this and that. No. Stop excuses. It's time to stop that. It's time to rise your head up and stand firm for your responsibility. Because in the world to come, you won't be asked who is this who disturbed you and disturbed, because that is the same mistake that Adam did. It is the woman, it is the serpent, la 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 la. So enough of all this. Let us stand firm and do the work which the Holy One has commanded us to do. Closing. Maybe now we can understand the serious disconnect of the Meraglim, that is the spies. What was their failure? They went on this mission as a representative of the interests of the people of Israel. They assumed the most basic fear and limitation of the one whom they represent. Then, with those eyes, they perceive the gravity and seemingly impossibility of the entering and conquering a land of the giant. At the very end of the parasha, we are commanded, and it will be to you as it said, fringes at the edge of our robes. These people, they took on this responsibility, and they look, because they were men that belittled themselves. They belittle their responsibility. They look at themselves as nobody. When God opened the sea of reed for you to pass through, when God fed you with manna, when God fed you with meat, when God did a lot of wonder and you saw the glory of God on Mount Sinai, the Lord God himself descended upon the mount, and we all were uplifted unto the ring of the heavenly powers. And the Holy One speak to each and every one of us, and we said we are going to do, or we are going to perform, we are going to obey. And now look at what is happening. It seems as if these men in a second always forget everything in a second. So you think that the Holy One that brought you out of the land, that destroyed Egypt, the superpower of that day, cannot destroy the giant because of you? Do you think that temptation or that trials, that you are having now, you think that God is not able to make you to overcome it? Do you think that trial is above you? No. No. It's not above you. You have the power to overcome it. That is why the Holy One has given it to you, or that's why the Holy One has allowed it in the first place. If you are not able to overcome it, He will never allow it in your life. That is a fact. For the Holy One, blessed be He, is not a wicked God. The Holy One knows that you are able to overcome. That is why He has allowed that to be in your life, to bring you close unto Himself, so that you might have a very close, intimate relationship, knowing that in this trial, the Holy One, blessed be He, is with me, and I'm going to conquer. That wall of Jericho, that impenetrative wall, that high giant wall that you think you cannot overcome. My brother, my sister, I want you to understand this. In a second, believing the Holy One, all the wall will crumble down. Those high wall that you think it is impossible, they will become a level ground. Only trust and believe. Only believe. Once you believe, all things are possible. There is nothing impossible with the trust in the Holy One. And we can see it here. When people rush, no, let us go, we are here, we are going to conquer, we are going to do this. When Moshe said, don't go, stop. The Lord is not in your midst. God is not in your midst. They hurry up, they face the consequence. But when God is in your midst, when God says move, you move. When God says stop, you stop. When God says sit, you sit. When God says stand, you stand. No man can stand before you. only obey and hearken to the word of God. Listen and perform his mitzvot, and everything shall be fine. The thesis is a reminder of the commandments, that we should remember that the Lord God is with us, that we should remember to perform all the mitzvot that he has commanded us, because we need to understand the way the mind of a man is made. The way the mind of a man is made is we forget things easily every time. But when we have a visual thing that we can visualize and see, then we remember. Because man is a visualized being. I visualize everything. It goes into our brain, and we can stand and say, oh yeah, I remember, the purpose of this. I can remember the commandments that the Holy One has commanded me, so that I will continue to perform them, not to depart from my God wickedly. Many women, they depart from their God wickedly because they thought there is no hope. But I want you to understand, as far as you are breathing, as far as you have life, there is a hope for you. As far as you still breathe, and as far there is still life within you, there is still that energy of life in you, and there is a zeal for you to live, nothing can stand against you. And having the trust and the belief in the Holy One, blessed be He, you will be more than a conqueror. To see a constant reminder everywhere we turn. Who do we work for? Whom do we represent here? That is the purpose of the thesis. Who do we work for? Or whom do we represent? And who is the boss? For the Holy One, blessed be He, is the boss, is the king, and we are the princes. So we have to stand firm to perform the job and to bring about a good report. Normally, you see, the majority, as I said, majority are never wrong. Majority is good, and which is what they call democracy, right? Majority, the rule of the majority. But we can see here, from the beginning of life, in the Torah, the majority are always wrong. In the Tower of Babel, the majority, and they were wrong. Sodom and Gomorrah, the majority, and they were wrong. Everywhere you turn, the majority. But here, only the few makes it. It is said, only the few, that in the Messianic writing, he said the road is wide and big, and millions and majority are found there, and that way lead to eternal condemnation. And there's another path which is narrow and small, and only few people are found, and that road lead to eternal life. That's what it is said. Now we can see that only two, not even six, not even half, two came out unscanned. Only two came out with a good report. 10 thought in their head will carry the vote, were a winner. But in this case, you can see that they were losers. Majority is not necessarily mean that they are right. No. The rule of the majority does not necessarily mean that the majority is right. But sometimes, let us listen to the minority. Let us listen to that voice that comes out gently. Not that voice that makes noise and say, who, no. But that gentle voice in our head that come and speak, my son, my daughters, what have you done? My son, my daughter, what are you doing? My son, my daughter, do not forget about me. I am your God who created you in my image. Not you creating your God in your own image, because that is what the people of the world are telling us. They want to make God in their own image. But God is saying, I make you in my image. We have to be in the image of the Holy One. There is a direct connection between the content of Parashat Beshalach and the Parashat Shlach. This is hinted at through their similar spelling. The only difference being the letter Bet. In Parashat Beshalach, the letter Bet, when read in a prefix, mean in. The Torah is teaching us that if you want to see what happened when you attempt to enter the land of Israel from the south, by the way of the land of the Philistine, you should look in Parashat Shlach. The spices were sent in Parashat Shlach from the south, and the evil report of the land led to sin and a failed attempt by some to ascend to the land in any event. They were crushed in battle by the Amalekites. This is one reason why Adonai steered the children of Israel clear of the land of the Philistines at the time of the Exodus from Egypt. It related at the beginning of Parashat Beshalach. As sages of blessed memory teach us that Adonai's Torah, his people, and the land of Israel are one. They are indivisible as Adonai created the world, for Israel is firstborn through the Torah. It's a hint that the Torah is telling us. And if you remember Parashat Beshalach, he's saying, if you want to see what happened to those spies, go see in Parashat Shlach that we're reading this morning. That is why the Holy One, blessed be He, that when they were going out from the land, He did not lead them to the way of the land of the Philistines, because He said, perhaps they will see war and they will return back into Egypt. That's why He led them through the south, so that they will not change their mind and return into Egypt. And we can see that even though there they still complain that they want to return back to Egypt, So therefore, men will always be men. But what makes us different from others is the ability, or the relationship for us to reason. What makes us different from other animals is the power of intelligence. That we should be able to reason, understand our ways, our path. What way are you going? Are you going through the big road that leads into destruction? Or are you passing through the narrow road? It's very narrow, understand. It's very tight. There are all kinds of trials and temptation. But by the grace of God, by His power, you will conquer and you will win. And at the end, we will all rejoice in the bosom of Abraham. So therefore, the Torah of the Holy One, blessed be He, His people Israel, and the land of Israel are one. They are indivisible. You cannot divide them. For the land is God, and Israel is of God. So therefore, we are of God. We have to come out and stand up tall and give glory to the Holy One who has chosen us. It's not by our power, not by our strength, but by His Spirit. Shabbat Shalom.